Thank you for tuning in to the Afternoon Pint. This episode is sponsored by Camilla Najat of Exit Realty, Strategy Up Business Consultants, and ISS Atlantic Security Guard Services. Enjoy the show. All right. Cheers.
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 Holly.
Welcome to Morning Coffee, Afternoon Pint Morning Coffee Edition. I'm Mike Tobin.
I am Matt Conrad.
I'm Kat Green.
I'm PigMonkey.
PigMonkey, Kat Green. Who are you guys?
Yeah.
Well, I am the organizer of the Geeks versus Nerds reunion show, and we are fundraising for patient assistance at the QE2.
Awesome.
I am the creator and host and chief cook and bottle washer.
Cool.
Previous to Kat doing the revival, Kat has taken on a giant beast and tried to tame it. Myself and my other partner, John Roy, who we developed the show originally, sat there and said, "Are you sure about this? You really know what you're doing here? Because it's a task." And she said, "Okay."
Okay. So I just heard the revival, and pardon me, I don't know a ton about this. So this is a show that was you're bringing back from the past, or kind of resurrecting. Is that right?
Geeks versus Nerds sort of developed in 2008 and 2009, and our first show was early 2010, I think, or late 2009, and we went to 2018 when we stopped. When we were doing it, we were doing 6 months. So we do a show every month and do 2 tapings. So we would have an episode for every month of the year. But it was it was a live studio recorded show, which I mean, I loved it. Yeah, I would do it. I enjoyed doing that bit, but it's a lot of work to run one of those shows, to put something like that together. You've got the performers, you've got the technical side, you've got to deal with the venues, and then I have to be on top of that stuff, and I'm just not that organized.
Okay. Was this like a nationwide show? Like, was it aired across Canada, or how could you watch it?
Actually, well, it was a podcast. Okay. I've been a podcaster from the time that podcasts were called audio blogs, and I really enjoyed doing podcasts. And when I came up with this show, in my head, it was an audio scripted show, and I didn't really want to try and curtail my performers to a certain amount of time. So the only place that really fits that was audio drama. Also, nobody was going to teach me how to do any of that stuff, so I had to learn it myself and just do it. So
what's like a typical Freaks vs. Geeks show look like? If there's someone that, oh my gosh, Geeks vs. Nerds, sorry.
There you go.
What does a typical show like this look like when you're watching it?
Matt?
So it's a 3-on-3 debate style comedy is the main debate of the show. But leading into that, we will have several one-on-one debates, and these are quick hit topics. So for example, one of the ones that's going to be in our reunion show is Indiana Jones versus River Song. So big Doctor Who, Indiana Jones fans will enjoy that. Or a little bit more unique, we've got corporate speak versus 90s slang. So these will be the quick hits.
Cool.
And then our main debate is 3-on-3, and it's Steve Rogers versus Jean-Luc Picard. So basically OG Captain America versus Captain Picard, which captain gave most for their cause. So within that framework, it's a comedy show. And so we're there to make people laugh and have a good time.
That's awesome. Actually, Mike knows this. I kind of wanted to do something really similar before I even found out what this was. I want to do something really similar, have like a little bit of a fun debate show. Like I didn't want to do anything too serious because, people get all crazy about that stuff sometimes, right? but pick some fun topics about what to debate with. And I want to call it bar fights, just with the whole afternoon pint thing kind of thing, right? So I just wanted to call it bar fights. Like we have a long-standing, Mike and another mutual friend of ours has a long-standing argument, feud, whatever, about who would win between Godzilla and King Kong.
Yeah.
Mike's team Godzilla. Mark,
We solved that. Godzilla.
Hey, there you go, Mike.
Yeah, of course. Thank you, sir. I respect you. And well,
Okay, don't get me wrong. King Kong, real monster.
Mm-hmm.
Lacks range. That's the biggest. Lacks the ability to breathe underwater and lacks range.
Yeah.
So can be hit from a distance and can be drowned. That is. I mean, those are two forms of attacks that King Kong has no response for that Godzilla can do just as a normal thing that they already do. Advantage.
There you go, Mark. If Mark's listening, we brought in the experts. You lose, I guess.
Who's again?
We actually did the debate Godzilla versus Cthulhu.
Yes, that's right. I heard that. Yeah.
And Godzilla came out on top of that one. I don't think I agree with it. I don't necessarily agree with it, but Godzilla did come out on top for that one.
The winners are determined by audience. So basically at the end of the debate, PigMonkey turns it around to them and asks what they think. And it's usually by round of applause, cheering. Yeah.
By volume of noise.
Yes.
That's amazing.
Yeah. Okay, so I got to ask. PigMonkey. You got to either you grab this for a particular reason, or your parents thought of something really not nice about you as a baby. So what's going on here?
You would be surprised how often I get asked that question.
No, I probably wouldn't.
There are okay. Well, first of all, why do one thing when you can do a bunch of things? So PigMonkey is my stage name. It's also I am a person with autism. It makes it very hard to gauge how people feel at any one point in time. When I'd introduce myself as PigMonkey, I got a clear read on how that person was responding to me. And generally, there are only like 4 or 5 responses. My favorite one is immediately, almost pretty common, is I'll shake their hand and call myself PigMonkey, and they'll say, "I can't call you that." And I'm like, "That's fine. I'm cool with that. My name's Andrew. You could call me Andrew, but I'm very comfortable with PigMonkey." And they say, "Well, why would you call yourself PigMonkey?" And I said, "Well, I've got a bunch of reasons. One of them is just being who I am. I got called a lot of names growing up, and I still do to a certain degree. And PigMonkey takes their power immediately. You cannot make fun of somebody who can sit confidently and comfortably in a name like PigMonkey, right? How are you going to? What are you going to do?
Cool. I like it.
It's that was one of them. It's funny. I like to sometimes I get to see people laugh right away. I get to see a smile.
Yeah.
I get to people who can't handle it will go away, and I won't cause them any issues. Like one of the very common reactions is laughter and then an exit. Right? They can't do it. They go, ha. I'm like, okay, well, it's nice meeting you.
Right.
But it helps me. It helped me gauge people.
Right.
And that came from a time before I actually knew I had autism. Right. Like I've had a lifetime. I found out very, very like 2 years ago that
I had
autism.
Only 2 years ago.
So I had a lifetime of building my own strategies in order to make my way through a world that is.
I got to ask you, PigMonkey, what was like, so only 2 years ago, I mean, I'm guessing you're just in your 40s, if you don't mind me saying. Just
I'm 52.
52, okay. So what how did you learn you had autism at that age? Where were the signs? Would you see something on YouTube and just say, gee, I really connect with that, or what happened? This episode is brought to you by Camilla Najat with Exit Realty Metro.
Camilla Najat is an experienced real estate agent who prides herself in finding the perfect home for her clients. Camilla can help you with a comparative market analysis to help determine the value of your home if you're planning on selling, or help you determine the going rate for the neighborhood you're moving into. She can also work with you at your pace.
You can reach Camilla by calling 902-880-8429 or email camilla@exitmetro.ca.
Also, you can find her on Facebook at Camilla Najat, Exit Realty Metro.
Okay. One of our performers, who's going to be on stage for the reunion show, Christy Lee, said to me one day, you know what? I think you've got autism, because I read the issues. And I went, autism? That's the dumbest fucking thing I've heard in my life. That is so stupid. I have, my mother has worked with people with autism my whole life growing up.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I understand people with autism. People with autism were brought into my house. My mother would care for them on a rotating basis. I've been tutor. I've been friends. I'm a professional dungeon master. I've run professional D&D games for people with autism. The idea that I have autism was ridiculous.
Yeah.
I got tested and they said, oh, yeah, you definitely have autism. It's hard to tell when you have people who've gotten into their late age, because they've developed so many coping mechanisms to make their way through life.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, it's everybody's got their own struggles. I'm not saying.
Yeah. Does it make you feel a little bit better though, just knowing, saying like, okay, I identify now that I have a couple challenges that I know are in my life that make sense of why I had certain challenges growing or up or whatever.
I grew up with these.
Yeah.
I was very aware that I had them. Yeah. Like, it wasn't something that surprised me or anything. I think if anything, it was, okay, there's a reason. That's good. We know there's a reason for why I'm doing the things we're doing, but the honest issue with it is that I can't stop doing it. It's wound into my head, right? I say the wrong thing. I make the wrong face. Mm-hmm. I respond to people's emotions in a non-standard way. Right. I find discomfort very funny, right? That is, I find other people's discomfort incredibly funny. So I have to remove myself, or I have to know who I am.
Do you watch the show I Think You Should Leave with Tim Robinson? Have you ever seen that show? It's on.
No.
Okay.
I have.
The show is based around awkward situations and people going too far. Like, that's the skit. And it's just that kind of scenario in a million different ways, in a million different environments. I
need to see that. That's my life.
Yeah. Tobin loves this. He's
favorite show of all time. Like, I love, and they've actually connected the show to ADHD. People with ADHD love the awkwardness of this show, and
I have that too.
And how weird and offsetting the humor is. Like, there's a guy sitting at the table that is afraid that the steering wheel in a vehicle is going to fly out of a window. It makes no sense, but it's hilarious. Just keeps doubling down on this fear of the steering
bizarre.
Wheel.
On being bizarre.
I love bizarre comedy, and
you would like Geeks versus Nerds, my friend. You should go and listen to some of our podcasts.
Yeah, probably. I'll check it
out. Back to Geeks versus Nerds. Like, how did this kind of first get conceived? Like, how were you guys just sitting there going like, hey, we like to sit around in our room and argue about who's better in what and all this stuff. We should just record this? Is like that really what it came down to?
Sorta. I'm sorry. I feel like I'm stealing a lot of Kat's time here.
We'll get to
No,
Kat
that's okay.
after this answer. I got some questions for Kat. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, no stress.
Sort of. So, do you guys remember Spike TV?
Yeah.
Do you remember the show Greatest Warrior?
Yes.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
So I was watching Greatest Warrior one day, and I was sitting back in my chair, and I'm watching this, and I go, this is cool, but I don't really give a shit who wins a fight between a ninja and a pirate. I give a shit who wins a fight between Batman and Boba Fett. And then I went, oh my God, I know lots of people. We've had these stupid arguments before. I could just put it on stage and record it. People would love it because everybody already has their own opinion. We could call it Geeks versus Nerds. Oh my God. And that was it. 2 in a row. And I'm like, okay, this has got to happen. So I had a lot of the skills that were required to do the stage show. I had the technical expertise. I'd done editing and Foley and live shows for radio plays. I had most of the equipment. I had a membership at AFCOOP, and for that first year, all we did was go to AFCOOP and rent the gear that we needed to do the show for like it was $20 or something like that, $30. That first year, pretty rough recording, especially in 2010. But we started doing it at a time when it was the beginning of the age of the geek. We hit the start time perfectly for the audience, and then we stopped in 2018 because I felt that was definitely the age of the geek was ending. People were tired.
Were you able to monetize the show? That was my last about
no.
it. No,
I lost my
fun.
ass on that show.
Yeah.
We tried to get advertisers. We tried to see who would do stuff. No, like when we did get money, it went right back into the show. Myself and John Roy, we put a lot of our own money into keeping that show going. And when we got to 2018, we both said, well, we can't keep doing this. And we were both pretty burned out. It was, it's a lot of work to do that year after year, creating the arguments and having enough people who want to argue that. That was a real issue later in the seasons too, because we were doing stuff that wasn't necessarily in the mainstream. We were definitely sliding into geek knowledge in very small capsules.
Yeah, very niche
arguments in the later seasons, which did very well. We had a somebody who came to. So you asked earlier if we were across Canada. We actually had some recorded shows on Eastlink for a while that went across Canada. Cool. But one of our performers who was with us in the first 3 seasons was moving to Vancouver and asked to take the show with them to Vancouver. So there was Geeks versus Nerds Halifax and Geeks versus Nerds Vancouver for, I think they went to 2019 and then they ended as well. So we had 2 franchises and they actually made money. They had, because they were in Vancouver. They're not in Halifax. Halifax has a very small population, a very enthusiastic and supportive population, but not enough to turn this into an ongoing show.
Right.
So
I got to move this over to Kat now. Hearing all that I just heard, what in the world made you decide to bring this thing back?
Well, I think that PigMonkey has like he's talking about the breadth of the experience. But from my perspective, I saw my first Geeks versus Nerds show at HalCon in 2011. It was the second con ever. And I was like, who are these people on stage, like arguing in such a funny way about these things? And I was attracted to it. I had done improv in high school, but throughout university, that kind of thing was not my life. I'd very quietly be like, oh yeah, I kind of like Star Trek, whatever. Who's Iron Man? He's cool. But when I got to go to HalCon, I started meeting more people with these kinds of pop culture interests. I was really drawn to what Geeks versus Nerds was doing. And after about a year of just going to see the show, where people would line up outside the bar 45 minutes, an hour early, where you would have over 100 people, you know, cramming into smaller spaces to see the show. It was very popular. I found the, I don't know, boldness somewhere to be like, hey, can I try? And got involved, and I was involved until the end. And so from my perspective, it was very popular. We did basically all of the maritime provinces. Is Newfoundland considered maritime? No, they're not. They're Atlantic. So we did all the conventions at all the maritime provinces, like performing multiple times and went together. And yeah, we weren't a money maker, but we got paid to go perform at these conventions. And then also personally, it was a big part of my personal growth, becoming more comfortable with myself as a queer person, making a ton of friends. You know, PigMonkey mentioned Christy. I met her working on my first show with GVN. She stood in my wedding a couple of years ago. Like, we're very close friends. And so I had cancer in early 2020. That sucked. And what kind of got me through dealing with surgery and
I was just thinking, what a terrible time to have cancer in early 2020.
I was diagnosed in January 2020 with cervical cancer, which I lost my mother to in 2011. So it was heavy. I had just moved in with my then boyfriend, now husband. And so we were on lockdown as I went in for a hysterectomy. So with 6 weeks of recovery time. Right. We were there in our 1 bedroom. We had said, let's get a 1 bedroom together because we'll be out all the time doing cool things and we'll be like North End hipsters. And so this happened, but I was never really alone either. Like, I mean, he and I weren't really alone either because of the friends that would reach out, drop off packages, you know, come say hi while I was on my balcony and they were down on the lawn. Right.
Yep.
And most of those folks I met either directly or indirectly because of Geeks versus Nerds.
Amazing.
And so that was a really rough, I would say, year and a half after that, mental health. It was really, really rough. And what helped me pull out of it was starting to think how I might celebrate afterwards. And I come from a family of like, I had a religious upbringing that I don't follow now, but there was a lot of that love thy neighbor kind of version of Christianity. And so it was like, okay, I'm going to celebrate. Like I thought I could just throw a big party, but it felt right to give back. And I found out about patient assistance programs at the QE2 and thought, what a great way to help people out, because it's stuff like gift cards, you know, for gas or food. It's helping people who you know, illness has made their life financially difficult. It's helping them out. And I'm so grateful that wasn't a concern for us. You know, we were fine all through the lockdowns and everything. So it just started to grow as this idea to combine the two. And what got me through life, what helped me become, you know, a version of myself that I'm really proud of today was Geeks versus Nerds.
He has a Geeks versus Nerds tattoo, which is something that I have not. Really? I have not succumbed to. So
yes, he did not support it either. When I told him I was thinking about it, he said no. And I showed up a month later with I'm not going to flash you on camera, but I've got the Geeks versus Nerds logo on the right side of my chest. because
Cool.
it meant that much to me.
Changed your life though, right? And
It did.
I love hearing I mean, Matt and I did HalCon last year, and
Yeah, for the first time we went.
Yeah.
And one of our takeaways from it was I mean, it's so nice. I mean, we all kind of feel very lost and alone, even when we like something sometimes, and we're like, okay, I like this, but I mean, my partner of 10 years, God love her, she won't watch a Marvel movie with me to save her life, right? I'm on my own for those, and that's okay. I have friends, thankfully, like Marvel movies. But as you get more intricate into geekism or whatever you want to call it, or something that you're truly passionate about, it's so great to see that there's so many people right in your city with those exact same loves and deep passions for something, and a place where you can all go. And again, this show you guys are doing, I love the concept of it. I feel like I don't fit in anywhere, even on your show. If I was on your show, I'm like, oh
No,
shit,
you do.
I'm not geeky enough for these geeks, right?
No,
Like I
you
wouldn't
do.
know any.
Honestly, I used to say I'd say to my wife, and when we were watching, because my wife will watch Marvel movies with me, but she didn't she read Archie comics growing up. I read Marvel and DC and stuff. So when I get into it, like sometimes she'll get into it and she'll be like, "Oh, is this how it goes in the comics? Is this whatever?" Right? And she'll get into it a little bit. And I honestly was like, yeah, even though I grew up, still liking sports and playing sports, I had this geeky side to me, right? And that liked Marvel and things like that. And I'd know a lot about the details of it. And then I went to HalCon last year and I was like, I am an idiot. I know nothing.
That's how I felt too. I was like, I know my new.
I want to politely push back on that, partially because since Geeks versus Nerds has since we ended the show, I actually got involved with HalCon now. There's something for everyone, and the idea is that we appreciate each other's passions. My husband, I married a nerd, and it's the best thing ever. But he loves anime. I don't get it, but I love when he gets rolling and tells me all about what he's enjoying, because I get to see what he's excited about. And then I do the same to him with some of the things I'm into. And then we're also into non-geeky things. I think that everyone has something. There's been some Geeks versus Nerd debates that I signed up for that I didn't know what I was signing up for, and just did a little research. I once signed up for a debate relating to Avatar, and I thought, cool, I never actually watched that movie. I'm finally going to sit down and watch it. Then I looked closely at what I signed up for. It was Avatar Korra, spinoff from Avatar Last Airbender, and I was like, what is this? Ended up watching a few episodes, like, this is really neat. It was not the Blue Guys. I have still not watched the Blue Guys. But
you know what you have? It was probably just called Pocahontas.
Yes.
What was that debate? What was Korra versus?
That's a great question. I don't remember. My love for Geeks versus Nerds, it's so funny. I don't remember most of the debates that I did in any great detail. For me, it's the community of people. Like the reunion show, we have 18 cast members, and then we've got 5 or 6 people. There's some crossover, also doing some behind the scenes work on the show. There's the friend that's handling social media, John Roy, that PigMonkey mentioned is doing our technical side. Got a couple of friends from the show working the door, working the silent auction booth. There's a lot of fans coming back to see the show, as well as some friends that are being supportive because they know about my journey through cancer and the mental health struggles there. And so, I don't remember a lot of the debates, but I remember the passion and the laughter. And that's why I wanted so badly to do this show.
Is this going to be just one show, or are you guys going to work on like a series?
That's what I was wondering. Is also like, are you going to do it at HalCon kind of thing too?
This is a one-time live only reunion. You're not the first people to ask, but it's a lot of work. Right. And I have
PigMonkey's laughing in the corner.
I've sent a lot of I've sent a lot of, oh my God, I'm so sorry, I had no idea messages to PigMonkey and John because the group working on this with us are enthusiastic and funny and have great ideas. And it's about 25 people. And it's like herding cats. So I personally
they all have different ideas. That's
we
the
all
thing.
Have different
they
ideas.
All have different
all
ideas, and you've got to take those ideas, filter through them, let some of the ones that you don't. I'm not going to say they're bad ideas. I'm just going to say that they don't fit right now, and then you have to let those people down nicely.
Yeah. Yes.
and at the same time swing around and say, we're going to take your idea. And so there's a lot of,
and they're all our friends.
Yes.
They're great people, and we want to go, oh, that's a great idea. I want to use your idea, but it just can't. It doesn't fit.
Yeah.
So when we did the original show, we ended up quite often moving those ideas to next shows. But since we've only got the one.
So what I'm hearing is if HalCon came knocking, you wouldn't do this once a year just for HalCon?
This episode is brought to you by Strategy Up. Strategy Up is a business consulting firm led by Mark Zerka, who has over 20 years' experience in building commercial strategies that will up your game, organize your teams, increase your productivity, and grow your business.
Whether you're a construction company looking to grow your revenue or a busy restaurant owner just trying to keep the doors open, Strategy Up can help. Strategy Up's boutique-style consultations will help you improve business process across nearly any industry.
Being a successful entrepreneur does not mean you have to be an expert in everything. Strategy Up specializes in building a relationship with you. Once pain points in the business are realized, Strategy Up will introduce process and technology that will power up your game to the next level.
A successful business requires investment. Your next step towards growth starts now. Email info@mystrategyup.com for a free business discovery call. Up your game with Strategy Up.
Oh, that wouldn't be up to me. And in fact, I would have to take my. I would have to take.
HalCon would have to come knocking first.
Yeah, and I would have to take myself out of that conversation because of my involvement with HalCon now.
Yeah, but HalCon would have to come knocking first. Like I'm not opposed to the idea, but I'm also not in any rush to do that to myself again. I was exhausted by the end. So
you have to understand, this is the closest I've heard PigMonkey to even saying a yes in this, right? Like
we'll squeeze it out of them.
Yeah, Geeks versus Nerds was an amazing time, and sometimes things belong where they belong in their time. But we're doing this reunion show because there's still an appetite for the show, for this type of show.
I believe it.
We've sold well over 100 tickets now. We have auction supporters. We've had enough raffle prizes donated to do 2
When's
raffles.
The show? Sorry,
the show is Friday, April 4th.
Cool.
It's in the McGinnis Room at the Dalhousie Student Union.
Nice.
And tickets are on Eventbrite. It's a Friday night, so it's going to be a great Friday night show, which is the other reason why I think it's great that we're doing it just live, right? You have to be there to enjoy it, experience it, and support the QE2 patient assistance programs. Right, so that's so that's why we're doing it.
Are you guys going to film it or no?
We've been talking about filming it. Tech wise, it's not really feasible, because the more too that we do, the more we have to pay for. The more we have to pay for, the less we're able to support the charitable organization.
When we originally did Geeks versus Nerds, we used all of our own equipment. So part of bringing our show was using our equipment. But because we're I still have all the equipment, but the venues generally like you to use their equipment. So that increases the cost of putting on the show, which means that you have to recover more from the ticket booth, which means the more tech you have, the greater the cost. And if we could put somebody in there with our own camera and record it, maybe, or even audio, maybe. But it becomes at a certain point financially unwieldy the bigger the show gets, without any kind of financing or backing or anything, so we could pay people. Geeks versus Nerds was entirely run by volunteers and people who put their own money into making the show work. So,
and time, but it was also
well, that's it. Like we couldn't pay anyone, which was actually a real bummer. I mean, there were great people on stage, and we just never had enough that we could give people like we could have paid everybody on stage $20 for the shows that we were paid for. And the shows that we were paid for, that money went. So often if we paid everybody on stage $20, that would have been $120 because I'm not paying myself. And that would have been coming out of mine and John Roy's pocket, because bringing the show there was either tickets sold or flat rate for everybody to come in. And that usually covered travel or other expenses, right? Because we're moving like about 12 people. It was about 12 people
when we did an away show. It was. It's so interesting. You guys are getting in real time like a perspective that I never considered as a cast member, because sure, it would have been nice, but I just saw it as a wonderful hobby with my friends, and getting to go to Fredericton on Canada Day weekend to make people laugh and hit a couple bars I'd never been to was a great time. It was a great way for me. I was in my late 20s, and it was a great time. I loved it, and never considered the idea of getting paid. It was just a passion project, and I really feel that most of the if not all of the cast, it was that same thing, and it was a roving cast too. It wasn't the same folks every time. So I remember we did a photo at our last monthly show where I think we had about 40 people in the photo, and that wasn't everyone. You know, there was a large group to draw on for this reunion show, and I reached out to folks that I particularly wanted to celebrate with, but any number of cast members could do this today and would be witty and smart and funny and a little strange in the best way possible.
Can you give me a bit of an idea of maybe any of the debates that might be coming up? Maybe at least one? Or
So the ones I mentioned earlier, the main debate will be Jean-Luc Picard.
Okay, versus, that's right. Sorry.
That's okay. Yeah. No. You might not have known I was referring to this show. So it's Jean-Luc Picard versus Steve Rogers, which captain, I think we labeled it which intrepid captain or which legendary captain has given more for their cause. I haven't had my coffee yet this morning or a pint. And some of the 2-minute debates, I'm doing one. I'm doing 90s slang versus corporate speak. I'm on the side of 90s slang.
I love that. That's a great,
a couple of friends are doing Indiana Jones versus River Song. We've got Lego versus Minecraft. Yeah, and there's a few more. I'll leave it for the night. And then intermixed in there, I should mention the door prizes for the night are 2 weekend passes to HalCon. Cool. Those always sell out early, so I really appreciate my friends at HalCon for those. We've got 2 raffle prizes. So the first raffle prize is a pair of weekend passes to the Great Outdoor Comedy Festival, along with a night free at the Lord Nelson.
Oh, cool!
And then the other raffle prize is 2 WestJet vouchers wherever WestJet normally flies.
Those are great.
So really appreciative of those companies. And one thing that we were able to secure, if I could be a little proud for a moment, is we do have a show sponsor, which is Arbora Vitae Counseling. Because as you can tell, mental health is all wrapped up into this. Everyone that does GBN is a little nuts.
It's a little screwy.
Little screwy. So, so they're one of our supporters through sponsorship. And then we have loads of silent auction prizes too. And those are the main ways that we're fundraising for the patient assistance programs at the QE2.
Amazing. Job, I think this is beautiful, and
it's great,
awesome. So
this is all Kat.
Yeah.
Like I want to stress that Kat has been at the front of this.
Mm-hmm.
She has been the prow that is cutting the waves, because we I've given a bit of help, and John Roy's given a bit of help. But when Kat said she wanted to do this, both John Roy and I kind of looked at each other and went, okay.
Right.
I look, a little naive optimism can go a long way. And also, I mean, yeah, I'll own it that this was a passion for me. I really, really wanted to do this, and I really wanted to do well. And I couldn't do it without the 25 or so people behind me, working on social media, working on design and posts and slides, the folks that are giving auction items. Like I said, we have a sponsor for this show and all of the raffle prizes. Like, from my perspective, I'm trying to just keep it all together in one beautiful spreadsheet.
Cool.
Yeah.
Well, all right. So
yeah,
before I was going to say, we do have a rapid fire kind of question how we end this show.
Yeah.
So I don't know if you want to move into that, Mike, but before we do, I did want to ask one final question related to the show, and that is, what is the difference between a nerd and a geek?
Oh, I get that one all the time. Geeks sit on the right, nerds sit on the left.
Perfect answer. Yeah.
There you go. Perfect answer.
It could be red versus blue. It could be shirts versus skins.
Honestly,
although it's not that kind of show.
There's a good story to that one, because I got that question a lot in the first season. Like in the first 3 episodes of this, we got, what is a geek? What's the difference between a geek and a nerd? And what I learned was, if you answer those questions with a definitive, solid answer, you are inviting debate. Mm-hmm. But if you answer it with something completely subjective, like nerds sit on the right, or geeks sit on the right, nerds sit on the left, there's no room for debate there. Mm-hmm. So that I've learned a lot about arguing, and I knew quite a bit when I started, because I'm a geek.
Okay, you know what? I have to make a comment here. PigMonkey, do you know the comedian Lewis Black?
Yeah, of course.
You have the cadence and mannerism of him, but much calmer, not as angry.
Well, that's because I'm suppressing my anger. It doesn't take a lot to set me off. Not a violent person, but I learned how to use my words real well when I was young. So thank you. I appreciate that. Ever since that's a new one. So thank you. Usually I got a lot of John Candy when I was younger.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
And okay.
Yeah, Matt, we're going to be hearing about this one now. Like, the next time all our friends are together, we're going to be hearing about, I'm Lewis Black.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Great comedian.
I love Lewis Black. Yeah,
he's got a point. Yeah. Whenever he's making his comedy, he's got a point. And then I like that, because people like, I have a weird sense of humor in that I like non sequiturs. So if you can throw a non sequitur that I can follow afterwards, like I see where you made that connection is very funny to me.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Like, oh, I get it. Yeah. I have my favorite joke. I do some stand-up. My favorite joke that I've recently written was, I don't know if this stand-up thing is right for me, because I used to tell dad jokes. Then he left.
I like it.
Nice.
That's good.
Nice.
Oh no. As I mentioned, we do have a therapist supporting the show.
You guys are going to need a bigger team. No, Jesus.
Man, there isn't enough therapy in this world to fit me into a box.
And we would never try.
Awesome. All right. So let's go into our rapid fire kind of questions. Like, we generally do like 10 questions, but because there's 2 of you, and asking each of you 10 questions might be a lot kind of thing. So we have 5 questions that I put together, plus our one consistent one that we ask everybody. We'll save that for the very end. But
looking forward to finding
if we have time, I'm throwing in something too after the question.
Sure. Yeah. Well, did you want to take it away with question 1 there, Mike?
Sure. Okay. What do you think is one of the most like geek lore worthy series on television of all time? Like, if you were like to go Like any TV show, we'll just stay TV. We'll stay out of everything else. Like show that just has so much lore to it and so much content that like endless debates on. What would be one of the best shows?
I've a quick answer and a longer answer. My quick answer,
Sure.
Star Trek, because of how many series there are, the breadth of it, the world building.
Yeah.
And it's my thing. It's where I originally, aligned with like geekdom. But I just finished the Severance season 2 finale last night.
Oh,
And
so
that
good.
show has so many theories and what ifs and
we
and
watched it too last night. My partner and I watched it. It was amazing.
Right? It's incredible. And I also find
Yeah.
a lot of people who don't subscribe to Geek
Mhm.
love it too. So I'm somewhere between Star Trek, but right now it's Severance.
Severance is amazing. I highly recommend that show. One of the best shows I've ever seen.
Same.
Yeah.
Over to PigMonkey.
My question is for whom? Like, is it for geeks or for non-geeks? Because
you interpret
if you want, like my mom, for as much as I love her, thinks that Big Bang Theory is one of the funniest things she's ever seen in her life.
God love her.
Whereas I feel like it's nails on a chalkboard. But if you literally know nothing about geekery, Big Bang Theory is a good stepping stone. But as long as you realize that it is not geekery, it is geekery as written by Hollywood hacks.
Give me a show with good geekery then. How about that?
I'm thinking
done right.
Because
I always felt Silicon Valley did a good job. Am I wrong?
Yeah. I'd see, I like the issue for me is any show that I pick confines your knowledge to that show, which is why Big Bang Theory is such a great concept for people who aren't geeks.
It's the gateway drug to geekery, is what you're saying.
Yeah. It's a good way to find stuff out, as long as you're not going, haha, those nerds are so stupid they don't understand anything, which is generally the overwhelming message in that show. For a real show, I don't think you could find anything on TV that would be a great jumping off point or knowledge. The thing about geeks is they get hyper focused on the thing that's their geek, right? Whatever your geek is, you become hyper focused on it. So
I want to apologize, PigMonkey. You're not answering the question. So
I know. I'm going there.
In tradition of our show, if you don't answer the question, you just have to take a little sip of your drink, whatever you're drinking, right? So, and we're gonna move on. Okay, there we go.
I would say I've got an answer. I was working my way to an answer.
Gosh, there was an answer there.
These are quick hits.
Okay. Well, then cut everything else out and just say YouTube. That's where you go.
Cool. All right.
Actually, I love that answer. That's a great
answer. Good answer.
All right. So here's question number 2. So who would win in a fight, the Borg or the Klingons?
Do you mean the Cylons?
The Borg. The Klingon were the first alien species from Voyager.
Oh,
the ones that the Borg.
No, the Klingon is from the Orville. If you've ever watched
they're living in
Yes! I love the Orville. I'm embarrassed that I thought you were talking about something else.
Yeah, me too. I love the Orville. I like the Orville more than Star Trek, actually.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, it's fun.
But the Borg.
The Borg.
I'm on Team Klingon, man.
No, the marrying of the biological with the technical, I think would be ultimately superior to... Thank God I'm married, because I don't get laid when I say things like that.
The moment the Borg assimilated a Klingon, all of the Klingons' offense becomes pointless. They know everything that the Klingon know. They have the Klingons' technology. They just take the best part and leave the rest in a crap pile and vaporize the planet from orbit. Like, it's not really hard. The Kalon die with a flashlight. They don't even need weapons. All they need to do is drop a couple of spotlights on their city, and
I
everything
surrender.
goes,
You win. That was a great answer. Okay.
Over to you, Mike.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. This is a tough question to answer too, I think. So it's okay if you don't like the question, but what's one of the most scientifically accurate science fiction, we'll say movies, just keep it in the movie realm.
From what I understand, Interstellar's up there, and it is one of my favorite sci-fi movies of all time.
One of my favorites too, but you have something to say, PigMonkey. Let's go.
I almost walked out of Interstellar because they told me it was real science, and I'm like, you can't get that fucking close to a black hole without turning into a strip of spaghetti. Like it frustrated the ever-loving hell out of me.
Regardless, it's one of my favorites.
I would have to say, I mean, you can pick holes in all kinds of science, but I would say The Martian was probably the
good. Yeah.
The guy who wrote The Martian did a bunch of scientific research. And it's not 100%, but he wrote it on the fear that Neil deGrasse Tyson was going to read it.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
that's my guy.
Yeah,
he's my number one podcast get that I want to get.
Yeah, well, Andy Weir wrote The Martian with the thought in mind that Neil deGrasse Tyson might read it, so he wanted to make it as accurate as possible. So I'm going to go with The Martian, previous to any Hollywood adaptation.
I'm definitely going with WALL-E on that one, Matt.
Oh yeah, totally.
Yeah, 100%.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Best science fiction.
What about Terminator? That's turning out to be kind of accurate.
Gotta get in there. Getting there. I hope not.
So is Handmaid's Tale, but we don't want to talk about that.
Yeah, so is that one. Absolutely. Yeah.
Question number 4. Of these 4, who is the most powerful wizard? Gandalf, Dumbledore, Doctor Strange, or Merlin?
That's a lot.
Oh boy, that is outside of most of my interests. I like Doctor Strange a lot.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I don't follow Harry Potter or Lord of the Rings.
Gandalf is the soul of an angel.
Okay.
Without any real that's why he can die and come back. He's the soul of an angel, potent in the world, but just not wielding the same kind of power as all the other wizards in story. Dumbledore, I don't know a huge amount. I'm not really big into his lore, but he seems like more of an administrator than he's a forward thinker, not necessarily powerful in wielding combat and throwing fire, but he has everything set ahead. I'm going to skip Doctor Strange because he's the most powerful. Merlin, who is the prototypical wizard. Everything that we base wizardry around is based off of Merlin, but you cannot really respect a wizard who gets trapped in a tree for 300 years, right? He told the woman how to trap him in a tree. So I like it, but he didn't do anything. He did illusions, he did glamour, he was a good planner and a good talker, and then he got trapped in a tree. So when it comes down to it, Doctor Strange, if we just go with movies, Doctor Strange brought time into a dimension where it doesn't exist, which is pretty much altering reality. And none of them have that altering reality thing that Doctor Strange does. Also, none of them have the lore that Doctor Strange does. So it just makes more sense.
Cool.
I like
I
it.
can break anything
Cool.
down like this.
Listen,
Good answer.
I agree with that answer.
That was
Though.
good.
All right, over to you, Mike.
For what? Oh, the question.
Oh, no, Kat still has to answer.
No, I mean, really, I agree. But when I was thinking about Doctor Strange, it's just because I like him the most. That's
Me
really
too.
where it was for me. Yeah, I
Yeah,
just really enjoy his movies.
Probably biased for me too.
Yeah.
All right, Matt. I'm throwing one. I'm throwing one in here now.
All right.
This is a debate. Okay, I'm gonna split the groups. So I want to put PigMonkey and Matt together. I'm going to be on Kat's team. Okay, who would you pick to go up against Superman from the Marvel Universe and win? Knowing everything about Superman, he's the almighty, powerful, unbeatable dude with the kryptonite as his only weakness. Who would
Is
be?
this it? Is that all of the criteria?
That's it. Yeah. Okay.
Leech with a 357 Magnum.
Sweet.
He is an X-Man. I don't think he's even grown up in the comics. He was a child in the 90s when I was reading them. Yeah. And his ability is to completely negate superpowers.
Oh. Okay.
In fact, if you are within range of him, you lose all of your superpowers. So Superman is now the man of flesh, and then he's the man of a hole in his head.
Okay. I'm going to poke at that just a little bit because I'm thinking like superpowers are kind of worldly. Superman's not really, he's from a planet Krypton, so he's not superpowers. He's just a regular human or a regular being from his own part of the world. So Leech's
no, he's not. He's
not
absorbing. He's absorbing yellow star radiation.
Yep.
If he absorbs red star radiation, he's just a normal dude.
That's what I was going to say.
So Artie, he doesn't steal powers, he negates them. They just stop working in his presence. Or not Artie, Leech. Artie speaks in pictures. Leech. So Leech just negates powers in his area. And if I don't even think it takes touch, but I won't.
Kat, do you have
Mike, honestly,
Leech?
No, I mean, honestly, you picked a terrible teammate here. PigMonkey's gonna always overtake me in nerd knowledge. I mean, like using Marvel as an example, I'm obsessed with the MCU movies. Never read the comic books.
Right.
Like my one comic book guy is Wolverine. But I did think about Bruce Banner, and more so Bruce Banner than Hulk, because I thought that there would probably be a scientific way to take Superman down, perhaps to create kryptonite within the Marvel universe.
So if I have to talk to big characters rather than like a sneaky thing, I'd go with Doctor Strange, because Doctor Strange can do magic and Superman has absolutely no resistance to magic. He's vulnerable to it. The reason why I pick Leech is because he's a child and Superman would not try to hurt him, even with super speed, before he got into range of being shot by a gun. Whereas Superman could high speed and take out Doctor Strange before it ever became an issue.
All right.
See, that's a total. I would have just picked like Infinity Gauntlet Thanos, because he could have just made kryptonite and then it would have been over. So,
okay.
You would have to know that kryptonite exists, and it doesn't exist in the Marvel universe.
Maybe.
Yeah, that's why I would take it back to Banner, because I think that if he had the opportunity to, he'd be able to research. He'd be able to
synthesize,
figure out what makes Superman tick,
like Richard Pryor did, Matt.
Like Richard Pryor did. We were talking about this
with
week.
Superman 3 like 2 days ago, or yesterday.
Skis and a pink baby blanket. That's all I remember about Superman 3.
Yeah. I'm not a big Superman fan. I despise that character, to be honest with you. I like Doomsday solely because he killed Superman. So
he's too good. I like my character's I like the Punisher. Right. I like those, like,
Punishers.
for me anyways, like those more depressing anti-heroes. I don't like bright, shiny, perfect boy flying in to save the day.
I think for me, I've talked about this before. I like heroes who have great villains. And I don't feel like Superman has great villains. Like his arch nemesis is a regular businessman. It's like it'd be like fighting Jeff Bezos. So that's his arch nemesis.
I get it. However, I would say that his arch nemesis can't, like, okay, originally he was a mad scientist, but in the 80s, he became a businessman. And that's when Lex Luthor stepped ahead and became truly a vision beyond like the dangerous ones like Brainiac or any of the really top tier Zod, the top tier villains. He became that because he weaponized, I can't remember who wrote it, but he became the president of the United States. He beat Superman in a venue that Superman can't compete. That's what makes him as a villain brilliant, because he knows that Superman is a walking god, and he can't touch a walking god, but you can influence his followers.
Ooh. This Andrew guy's hard to beat.
Yeah.
I still don't like him. But it's all good.
The thing is, I think about this stuff the second amount. I think about Dungeons and Dragons and role-playing games the most, and I think about stuff like this after.
Yeah.
And your partner's in there somewhere around 3 or 4?
Huh? Oh no, I think about her a lot. I met her at a Geeks versus Nerds. So
there you go.
Yeah.
Cool. All right, Matt. Last question, my friend, I guess.
Yeah. All right. So last question would be the question that we ask everybody. So that would be, what is one piece of advice that you were given that, really impacted you that you would like to share with us?
I have one, Andrew, if you're a PigMonkey, if
Go
you're
ahead.
going first. I'm one of the people that took a long time coming around to calling him PigMonkey. I'm gonna admit that, but I never walked away.
Yep.
I was in university, feeling very overwhelmed, trying to figure out my next steps in life and trying to make some grand plan, which does not work. And a mentor said to me to do the next right thing. So don't think about some grand plan. Think about what's in front of you right now and how you can do the next right thing. And I'm not saying I follow it 100% of the time, but it was a really good way to pull me back into myself, what matters to me, and to just keep moving forward.
That's smart. I love it. Yeah, I never heard it before, to be honest with you. That's
really great. Buddy of mine from Australia, so maybe it's more common
the
there.
Right thing. I like it. Yeah. PigMonkey.
Yeah.
The fact that you don't know how to do something stop you from doing it.
I like that too.
I love that.
Very true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Everything in life is a skill. And the more that you practice that skill, the better you get at it. Now, there are people who are talented, who that skill is easier for them to attain, and they will attain probably a higher height of that skill than you will. But that skill is not removed from you. You can get that. Just do it and fail. And when you fail, do it again and fail and do it again and fail. And then 3rd, 4th, 5th time, you're going to succeed. Each time you do it again, and you don't do the things that you did last time.
Right.
And you will succeed. You might not succeed as much as you want to, but you will have success. It's a guarantee.
I love it. Yeah. Man, this was a lot of fun. This was
it was
a very fun coffee.
Cheers.
So thank you so much, guys. Cheers.
Salud.
Yeah, and that's it. That's the end of the show. So go out and check out. Maybe you can plug the show one last time for us, Kat.
Sure. Yeah. So the Geeks versus Nerds reunion show is on April 4th. Tickets available on Eventbrite, and it's going to be at the McGinnis Room at the Dalhousie Student Union.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
We really hope to see people there. The show gets better the more people are there.
Yeah. And tickets are selling pretty quickly. We sold out of our VIP passes in the first 24 hours.
Oh, wow.
They are going. Yeah.
All right, cool. Well, thanks again, guys. Cheers.
Thank you.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
Thank you for listening to The Afternoon Pint. We are an independent podcast and we need your support. Please take a moment to hit that like, follow, and share button. Email us if you have an idea or suggestion for the show. Please send your feedback. We'd love to hear from you.